Well, I think a couple of things. One, I have a record of being able to work across party lines. For example, I and Don Moffat, who is a Republican from the Galesburg area, worked together very well on firefighter issues, on agriculture issues. I think also the fact that I read very widely and I like to see what other states and areas are doing to create jobs. Partly also because I think I am dedicated to basically bringing our area into the new green economy. We have to do a lot of things to build jobs in for the future, and those jobs are in the new green economy. Things like wind turbines, things like even solar. Some people look at our area and they say, solar, what's not Arizona? This isn't Florida. But you know, the world's leader in solar energy is Germany. Germany's climate is very much just like ours. So we can do that too. In fact, there's a Chinese outfit that is putting in a solar farm outside of Rockford. So we can do that in the Sauk Valley area. We can bring in more tourism into the area. One of the things I'm interested in doing is getting together with local leaders in the Sterling Rock Falls area and build on the fact that Louis Bellson, one of the world's greatest jazz musicians, was from Sterling Rock Falls area. We ought to have a museum for him, and we ought to do that, and we can do that. We can bring in some state money to help do that, combine it with private money and other maybe federal grants, whatever we can do to bring together to do that. We did that with the Dutch windmill, an authentic Dutch windmill built by people from Holland in Fulton, Illinois. I helped in that effort, getting them state money for that. Now they not only have that, I helped them get state money for building a Dutch-American museum. I'm Irish, I'm not Dutch, but I thought this is a great way to build upon something that is already there, that their heritage that we can build into a tourist attraction. So now they have a new motel, fairly new motel. I mean, it's been there now for a few years, a Comfort Inn motel that Fulton never had before. So we want to do those types of things. We want to be able to go to the suburbs of Chicago and interest people who are retiring on, hey, why don't you come out to the Sauk Valley and retire in Sterling, Rock Falls, Savannah, Fulton, Morrison, all those places. They're wonderful communities to live in. You have less traffic, you have less crime, the cost of living is lower. It's a great place if we can attract those folks. Maybe they're in little higher incomes to come out here and retire out here or have a second home out here if they want. Something like that. So there's a whole number of things we can do. Highway 30 is crucial. We have to get that 4-laned or at least made into an enhanced 2-lane. I was instrumental with a lady named Barb Janis from Fulton in getting the director of IDOT to come up. We took them on a bus tour of that area. We can have more distribution centers than just Walmart there. It's great, Walmart is great, but we want to have other ones. We can do that if we get that area, if we get that Highway 30 either 4-laned or made into a enhanced 2-lane, because what will happen is a lot of the traffic that right now comes clear down to the Quad Cities, goes across to Iowa City, and then has to go an hour or more up, less I should say, less than an hour, but up to Cedar Rapids. We can have them cut right across our area. The truckers, the tourists, travelers going out west. We can have gas stations and restaurants and other things right there in the Sauk Valley area. Well, I think probably 3 things. One is environment and energy. I passed legislation that not only helps the environment but saves tax dollars by requiring that all new state buildings or any building that the state provides 40% of the funding for a renovation of it has to meet LEED standards, what they call LEED standards. That's leadership in environment and energy design, which is better for people who work in those type buildings. It's healthier, it protects the environment, they use less energy, and they save taxpayer money. The second one, was that as the old lighting wears out in state buildings, has to be replaced by Energy Star lighting, or what they call LED lighting, light emitting diodes. And then the third one was that requiring the state, when they buy new vehicles, have to be either hybrids, flex fuel, or biodiesel. So energy and environment is an area that I have an expertise in. Education, obviously, from my background in education, I want us to have a world-class education for our kids, because they're not only competing with kids in Iowa or kids in Alabama or someplace, they're competing with kids in China and India and other places in Europe where they're emphasizing education. We have to do that same thing too. I'm very interested in trying to find ways where we can drop the or lower the dropout rate, because kids today, high school diploma is just the minimum they need. We've got to move them on. So those are areas: education, energy and the environment, and economic development. I have a lot of ideas on how we can build jobs for our area there. So those are three of the areas, plus the whole area of utility regulation and that I think we need to do. That when you drive up the cost of utilities, what can happen is not only is somebody's grandmother going to have her lights shut off, but also it's raising the cost of schools, it's raising the cost for small businesses and large businesses as well, and making us less competitive in Illinois than maybe with neighboring Iowa or Indiana or Wisconsin or other neighboring states. There's a couple. One is, I think that people making over $100,000 who retire with a pension of over $100,000 should have to pay more of their health care costs. That's one area that can help. The other is there's some abuses in the pension system. We have people that are, for example, under the teacher's pension, that maybe they work for some other organization. And we need to move them out of it. A pension, if it's for teachers, should be just for teachers. If it's for state employees, it should just be for state employees. It shouldn't be from some other people who maybe work a couple days or something in the education field, just so they can qualify for a pension that is based upon what they were making, maybe working for some other organization. Another reform we need to make is that legislators, at the end of the 20 years, that's it. That's where your pension should end. Right now, people who stay in there after 20 years, their pension keeps building up 3%. So that, for example, Governor Ryan, if he had his pension taken away, but had he kept it, he would have actually made more money in his pension than he did as governor of the state of Illinois. And we have legislators like that. So we need to do some things like that. We need to cap probably the total pensions that a person can draw from one pension system at $100,000. After that, you'd have to put in a cost of living, so that $100,000 20 years from now is not going to be worth $100,000 today. But outside of that inflationary cost of living thing, that should be kind of the cap. That's an absolute necessity. We have to get kids started at the earliest ages that their parents want them involved in education, in preschool, especially kids that come from homes maybe that mom and dad are not there. Maybe they're in lower income. Maybe they don't have the advantages that some other kids have. We have to make sure that those kids are all prepared for that future world. So preschool, what I consider myself is an advocate for education from what I used to call nursery school through graduate school. It's all crucial. If we're going to remain the great nation that we are in America, we have to make sure that our education system is world class. We have to, and where we've kind of slacked off in the past has been on the elementary through high school. Our colleges are still the envy of the world. If you go to a big university like University of Illinois or Iowa or someplace in the summer, you'll find the place is packed with Asian kids, and they come here for that. But we have to make the really our whole education system the envy of the world, not just our higher education system. I think it's almost a necessity. It's not something I like. I've only been to each of the casinos here. We have 3 of them in the Quad Cities. I've been to each of them once, and that was only because some visitors or relatives come up and they say, oh, we gotta go to the casino, we don't have them where we live or something. So I take them there. But it's sort of I'll call it a necessity, that if we're going to do it, it should be done a little bit differently too. We need to have more of a sharing concept so that many communities in the area get the benefit of a casino. And I know that's what they're looking at up in the Chicago region. We should have, like Indiana, we should be having a lottery machine or booth at the airports, as they do in Indiana. We should have a lottery machine or a booth at our rest areas, as they do in Florida. Those are areas where people who want to spend their money, they're going to do it that way. And so if they're going to do it that way, we might as well get some good out of it. If you go to the Indiana casinos off the south side of Chicago, you'll find the parking lots are wall-to-wall Illinois cars. That's Illinois money going to Indiana. We need to change that. We need to have a casino in the south suburbs so that those people who right now are going across the border to Indiana and giving them their money, they stay in Illinois and they give their money to Illinois, because we have a lot of problems here in Illinois fiscally